just in. What happened? This just in. Yeah. The Panthers have hired Frank Reich as their new head coach. Dan, I don't know if you heard about it.
I did.
Reich was fired by the Colts this year after going 3-5-1 in their first 9 games. He is an original Panther who started at quarterback in his first 3 games. First 3 games of the franchise's history. Panthers have the 9th overall pick in this year's draft.
Panthers were looking for, look, they have to get the quarterback position figured out. It has been a night. Look at their list of interview candidates. A lot of them were offensive coordinators. The idea was somebody come in here and we figure out who our quarterback is, get them right, get them on the right. And so he had the edge, I guess, ultimately over Steve Wilks, who did a good job as their interim head coach after being promoted to that job from defensive coordinator midway through the season. Reich beats him out, I think, ultimately because the team was thinking about an offensive mind to help out whoever ends up being the quarterback.
Yeah, Nico, it is odd to me. Like, I think they got to be careful of making these. If you have a guy there that the team responds to, I think of Bisaccia last year with the Raiders, and they make the move for Josh McDaniels. Look at what happened. Yeah. Why would you change? Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I think it's styles, and Dan talked about they wanted an offensive mind, an offensive guy, a quarterback, a former quarterback. A lot of these teams, they want somebody to where if they draft a quarterback high, you have a natural progression of a head coach who's dealt with other quarterbacks in the past, was a quarterback, a little bit different dynamically than if you had a defensive-minded coach, again. So I think it's a good move. I like Frank Reich. I think he was a good coach. Just didn't work out for him at the end there with the Colts.
And that's the other thing, offensive, defensive. Frank Reich has been a good and successful head coach in the NFL, and that matters as well. Offense, defense, you need a leader.
I get it, but Sacho, as I said, you have a guy in there, you dealt McCaffrey, you're having a fire sale, and he starts to win, and the team starts to get competitive, and I think of Bisaccia last year. Do you like this, Sacho?
I do like the move, but to your point, Max, you look at what Steve Wilks was able to do, a team that people were giving up on. You talked about the fire sale, get rid of McCaffrey, get rid of some of your best players, and all of a sudden, Steve Wilks found a way to rally this team around and get them really close to the postseason, right? A game or 2 away, obviously in a bad division, and so you have to give him his credit. Unfortunately, he didn't get the job this time around, but I think that experience and what he was able to do, hopefully other teams and other owners with the other vacancies will be able to hire Steve Wilks based off of what he was able to do with an embarrassing situation.
Okay. It is time now, just about, for our weekly ratings spike. Our old friend Captain Robvious is back after the break with the number of TDs Patrick Mahomes will throw on his injured ankle Sunday. Better be right about this, Nick. And after the Warriors got back to 500 without Steph for the final minute 14, our insider thinks they can make a deep run in the playoffs out west. 49ers stopped Jalen Hurts in that Philly offense. How did the Eagles slow down run CMC, or is his leg going to slow him down? You're about to find out the answer to these questions. The line keeps moving. But who should be the favorite between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow? We debate. And Dame drops 60. AD returns, and the Lakers win, and Steph gets tossed but still beats Ja. What is happening out west? Let's go. What is going on? Everybody, I'm Max Kellerman. Welcome to this Just In, a fast hour around the world of sports and how I and some of my friends here see it.
It's fast.
That is NFL insider Dan Graziano. That is Super Bowl champ Rob Ninkovich, Captain Robvious. And we start with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously. Hurts has a mixed postseason resume. At Alabama, he was 3-1 as a starter in the playoffs. That's good. One of those wins was the game he was benched at halftime for Tua. That's not so good. After transferring to Oklahoma, he made another playoff appearance, and that's good. He lost to LSU and Joe Burrow. Burrow, by the way, had 400 yards and 7 touchdowns in the first half of that semifinals game. So Hurts is 1-1 in the playoffs in the pros so far. Last week's win over the Giants was the first by 30 points in a divisional round since 2011. Of course, the Giants aren't very good. Sacho, Sam Acho is with us. Sacho, who do you like between Hurts and that Niners D?
Man, I love the Niners D, but I'm going to give the edge to Jalen Hurts. Think about this. In his one loss that he's played all season, the only game he lost, his team had a -4 turnover differential, right? He threw an interception, etc. But since then, this dude's been winning, and more winning. They can do it through the ground, right? We saw 268 rushing yards in last week's game. But they can also do it through the air. We haven't even seen A.J. Brown, at least last game, only had 3 or 4 catches. He hasn't even been fully used or utilized yet. And so imagine you got a rushing attack that's one of the tops in the NFL, and now you start adding in A.J. Brown to that mix and Devontae Smith to that mix. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Philadelphia Eagles, even though they are going against the #1 defense in the NFL.
Nick, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Again, you look at what they're doing offensively with Jalen Hurts back. I don't know if he's 100% back, but even if he's close to what he was last week, it was still pretty good. And then the 49ers defense, we know they're great, right? But can the Eagles run the football on the edge? I think the dynamic ability of Jalen Hurts running the football, taking shots down the field, that's really going to set them apart in this matchup. And let's not forget, the 49ers are going to have to travel all the way across the country in a hostile environment with a rookie quarterback. That's not easy, ever. So I'm going with the Eagles.
Graz, stay with me here for a second, okay?
I'm not going.
I'm going to reduce this to a Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy thing.
Okay.
But the reason I'm doing that and giving Hurts the advantage over the Niners defense here is because it's like in baseball. If you got a shortstop who can really hit, that's a strategic advantage because not a lot of guys can play the position, so fewer guys can hit, right? When you have two defenses like this, like which one is better? I don't know. They're both great, right?
49ers.
Then the Niners, maybe marginally, but the Eagles are great at getting to the quarterback and everything.
Great, yeah.
Then the advantage you have strategically at quarterback, to me, is really the difference. And so I can't, who has the advantage between the Niners defense and Hurts because the Eagles have the advantage because their guy can do more against the other defense.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, he is playing hurt, right? And that didn't show up to the extent that we might have been concerned about it last week. This is a tougher test. You mentioned the Giants. The Giants had an excellent season, but not on the level of the 49ers, I think, by their own admission, right? So the defense will throw things at him that he hasn't seen yet. And I think that how he reacts to that and how much they have to ask of him versus last week, I think will matter a lot, right? I think they got away with it last week a little bit. He's a week healthier, which is helpful too, but the 49ers might be able to exploit it on a level that their other opponents haven't.
Sacho, like last year, someone might have thought this was a stupid question, right? Maybe people think it is now. I don't know, but I don't. Looking at I thought Hurts was compromised against the Giants. You could see in the play calling early in the game, and yet second play of the game, he threw a dime down the field. Do you expect him to get more done through the air or on the ground?
No, I love your point, Max. I would say through the air, but I do love your point about, man, this would have seemed like a stupid question, but it's not. Jalen Hurts can do everything. We all know that. But what we haven't seen, and I go back to A.J. Brown saying, man, I'm not trying to be a diva, but I want the ball. Like, this dude averages 17 yards per catch. We saw the second play of the game, that long pass down the field, right? And so I expect, yes, him to use his legs, but I expect Jalen Hurts to get so much more done through the air, right? Off the play action, throwing it deep. Devontae Smith and his route tree. Then you got A.J. Brown, the 1-2 punch. I expect that to be, even Dallas Goedert, right? A bigger effect. I don't think that the San Francisco defensive line is going to allow Jalen Hurts to run the ball. I think he'll be able to get loose a little bit, but I want to see that downfield passing game that we didn't see against the Giants.
Man, he can do it. Brock Purdy, meantime, the last man taken in this past NFL draft, could become the first Mr. Irrelevant to quarterback his team to a Super Bowl, and also the first rookie to do it. Threw for 214 yards against Dallas last weekend. No TDs, but also importantly, no turnovers. Purdy was asked if the Cowboys' defense was the best he's faced this season.
Yeah, I do. I think they, had a great front. I thought their secondary was really, talented and skilled. So all around, I think their scheme was really good too. So I do think it was one of the best defenses that I've seen, that our team has seen this year. And obviously, this week's going to be a great challenge with the front that Philadelphia has. So I thought it was a good game to have and, to work through and learn from, for this week's matchup.
Purdy will be just the 5th rookie quarterback to even start a conference championship game in NFL history. And as I mentioned, none of them have made it to the Super Bowl. Nico, what can Purdy do, and will he do it?
Well, I think at this point, what's he got to lose? You know, he's a rookie quarterback in a position that nobody thought he would be in. So if he goes out there and performs and shocks the world, then really the pressure's not on Purdy. The pressure's on the other team. Just put Purdy in the right place, get the ball out.